All right, let's dive right in. Today we're decoding Mastec, ticker MTZ. This stock has been on an absolute roller coaster. And believe me, the charts are telling a really fascinating story. So let's get into it and figure out what's really going on.
Okay, so let's set the scene. The whole story really kicks off back in July. You see this massive rally just rocketing up from a low around 160 bucks. That momentum was so strong it carried the stock all the way to a peak of over $213 in September. But, and this is a big but, since then, it's hit the brakes hard. We've seen a pretty sharp pullback to where we are today. And that kind of whiplash, well, it leaves us with one giant question.
So what's the deal here? Is this just a healthy pause, the stock catching its breath for launching the new highs, or are we looking at the beginning of something more serious, a full-blown reversal? That's the mystery we are here to solve. To solve this, we're going to have to put on our detective hats. We're going to sift through all the evidence in the charts, look for all the clues, and figure out which path this stock is about to take. So, let's start with our first and I think most important piece of evidence.
That first clue is volume. Now think of volume like the roar of the crowd. A big price move on really high volume, that's like a game-winning touchdown. The crowd goes wild, the conviction is there. But a move on low volume? Well, that's kind of like a chess match in a library. Yeah, something's happening, but nobody seems all that excited about it. It's a critical piece of our puzzle.
And here is where that clue gets really interesting. This is a tale of two different rallies. On the left, you've got the big run-up over the summer. Look at that volume, massive. It confirms everyone was on board, strong, enthusiastic buying. But now look at the right. This more recent bounce? The volume is just anemic. It's a huge red flag, a major divergence that suggests this latest move just doesn't have real conviction behind it. And, the analysis itself puts it perfectly. This volume divergence raises concerns about the sustainability of the rebound. It's one of the first things a technical detective looks for. When the price is trying to go up, but the crowd, the volume, isn't following, that tells you the move might be running on fumes. Okay, so that weak volume is definitely a red flag. But one clue doesn't solve a case, right? To really get the full picture, we've got to check the stock's vital signs. And for that, we're going to open up our detective's toolkit, the technical indicators. So what are these things anyway? Well, they're basically just fancy calculators. They crunch all the stock's price and volume data to give us a read on its health. Things like momentum and trend strength. They help us get a feel for where the price might be headed next. And this is where our case gets really complicated. The indicators are giving us totally conflicting signals, like a real tug-of-war. On one hand, the long-term picture actually looks pretty good. We have what's called a golden cross in place, and that's a classic bullish sign. But in the short term, the pulse is weak. The price has dipped below some key short-term averages, and that's usually a warning sign for the bearers. This chart just screams short-term weakness. We're looking at the MACD here, a really popular momentum indicator. Now notice how the blue bar, the MACD value itself, has crossed below the orange bar, its signal line. For us chart detectives, that crossover is a classic textbook signal that the upward momentum is fading, and it's fading fast. So, where does all this leave us? Well, this number, 52.67, it kind of tells the whole story right now. That's the relative strength index, the RSI. Now, 50 is the dead center, perfectly neutral. At 52.67, we are hovering right on that line. It means the tug of war we talked about, it's a complete stalemate. The market is just waiting. Okay, let's recap the evidence. We've got weak volume on this latest bounce. We have conflicting signals from our indicators, and we have momentum that's basically stalled out at neutral. So, based on all these clues, the analysis points to three possible futures, three likely suspects for what MTG is going to do next. So what are the odds? Well, take a look at this. The probabilities are just incredibly close. There's a 40% chance the bulls finally went out and we get a reversal higher, but there's a 35% chance the bears take control and we break down. That is ridiculously close. And the last 25% is that it just goes nowhere. This is not a clear-cut case. This stock is on a knife's edge. Now, this table right here, this is our playbook. This is our cheat sheet. It gives us the exact levels we need to be watching. And honestly, everything, and I mean everything, hinges on one single number, $203.26. If the stock stays above that level, the bullish case is on, with targets up near 210. But if it breaks below that line, the bearish breakdown is triggered, with prices potentially falling towards 195. That single price level is the key to cracking this whole case.
So, we've examined the volume, we've checked the vital signs, we've profiled the suspects. Now it's time to put all of these clues together and deliver the analyst's final take, the final verdict on this case.
And here it is, the bottom line. MTZ is at a critical technical inflection point. It's a classic battle between two powerful forces, that strong, long-term bullish trend versus this really clear, near-term weakness. The stock is perfectly balanced, just waiting for one of these sides to finally give way.
So these are the battlegrounds. These are the numbers that matter. For the bulls, that line in the sand is 203.26. They absolutely have to hold that line. For the bears, the wall they're trying to push through is that immediate resistance at 208.44. Keep your eyes glued to these levels because they are going to tell us who's winning this fight.
And let's not forget our very first and maybe our most important clue. The analysis reminds us that volume will be the ultimate lie detector. A real move in either direction is going to need to be confirmed by a surge in volume, specifically over 1 million shares. Price tells you what is happening, but volume tells you if people actually believe it's happening. And that brings our investigation to a close. We've laid out the whole case. We've identified the clues, and we've set the key levels to watch. The stock is caught in this moment of perfect balance, a true tug of war. So now, the only question left is, which one is going to break first?